دیر نہ کیا کرے بس فٹافٹ. چار مصرے. مداحیے آل سے یہ عزت دے دی، مداحیے آل سے یہ عزت دے دی. خالق نے مجھے جہان میں شہرت دے دی، اور ہر بیت پہ آتی ہے یہ ہاتف کی صدا، جا اس کے عوض ہم نے جنت دے دی. مداحیے آل سے کی ایسی نہ کسی اور کو تقدیر ملی، حر کی ایسی نہ کسی اور کو تقدیر ملی، جس کو دوزخ کے عوض خلد کی جاگیر میری. درود بآواز بلند. حر کی ایسی نہ کسی اور کو تقدیر ملی، جس کو دوزخ کے عوض خلد کی جام اور پنجتن کر گئے ثابت جو عمل سے اپنے، اس سے بہتر کوئی قرآن کی نہ تفسیر ملی. حر کی ایسی نہ
پر محمد و آل محمد صلوات.
سلام کے چند اشعار انشاءاللہ 9:30 بجے مولانا آپ جائے. اس لیے جو ہزارار پروگرام سن رہے ہیں ان کے بتانا بھی ضروری ہے کہ یہ پروگرام محفل شاہ خراسان میں ہمیشہ سے وقت کے اوپر شروع ہوتا ہے. آج کل کے دوران میں نماز کے ٹائم ایسا ہے کہ وہ نماز کے فوراً بعد، مگر ہم کوشش کر رہے ہیں کہ آپ کو 9:30 بجے کا جو پرامیس ہے وہ کریں گے. بر محمد و آل محمد صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم. ذکر شے کر کے محبوں کو رلایا میں نے، ذکر شے کر کے محبوں کو رلایا میں نے، اپنا گھر مجرئی جنت میں بنایا میں نے، ذکر شے کر کے محبوں کو رلایا میں، شے نے فرمایا کروں گا نہ گلا امت کا، پانی 2 روز نہ پایا تو نہ پایا میں نے، پانی 2 روز نہ پایا تو نہ پایا میں نے، شاہ کہتے تھے کہ پیاسا میرا مہمان ہوا کر، حر کے مرنے کا عجب رنج اٹھایا میں نے، حر کے مرنے کا عجب رنج اٹھایا میں نے، ذکر شے کر کے۔ اور شین قاصی سے کہا بیٹی کو کیا خط لکھتا، آ کے یہاں ایک گھڑی چین نہ پایا میں نے، ذکر شے کر کے کئیو سغرا سے کہ مشکل ہے وطن میں آنا، اب تو بی سے جنگل کو بسایا میں نے، اب تو بی سے جنگل کو بسایا میں نے، ذکر شے کر کے۔ درود باز بلند۔
اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد۔
سورہ فاتحہ۔
اور محمد و آل محمد صلوات۔ اللہم صلی علی محمد و آل محمد۔
چہرہ فروز ماں کئے کر بلا ہے حر، چہرہ فروز مار کئے کر بلا ہے حر، باطل کی ظلمتوں میں حقیقت نمائے، میزان عزم رتبہ شناس وفا کیا تھا مگر نصیب تو دیکھو کہ کیا تھا مگر نصیب تو دیکھو کہ کیا ہائے، جو رات کو شریک सिपाह शरीर, वो दिन को हम नशीर जनाबे अमीर, वो दिन को हम नशीने जनाबे अमीर का चेहरा फरोज मार गए करबला चेहरा बरोज मार गए करबला था मुंतज़िर सहर का उधर हुर के नाम, फौजे खुदा में अकबर गाजी ने दी, उठाओ पे नमाज जरी हो के शाह, खैरुल अमल ने ज़ौक़े अमल से कहा, खैरुल अमल ने ज़ौक़े अमल से कहा। अरे बांगे अज़ां से रूहे वफा बेकरार, टूटे हुए दिलों की वो गोया पुकार, टूटे हुए दिलों की वो गोया पुकार थी, टूटे हुए दिलों की वो गोया पुकार थी। आज़िमे सलात हुए शाह नेक, खुर ने भी आंसुओं से किया इस तरह, भाई पिसर गुलाम मुअद्दत रूबरू, सरखम दिलों में सिजदाए ताज की आरज़ू, सरखम दिलों में सजदाए ताज की आरज़ू। हाय था जोश पर जो शौक़ शहादत नमाज की नुसरत इमाम की नीयत नमाज की नुसरत इमाम की नीयत नमाज। अरे नागा सामने की तरफ से उठा टापों ने दी सदा के कुछ आते हैं शेष, अब्बास ने डपट के सदा दी के होशियार, याखे मज़न यसरब बतहा कतार, याखे मज़न है यसरब बतहा कतार। बारगाह पाक शहे हक पसंद की, उड़ती है गर्द थाम लो बागे समर की, उड़ती है गर्द थाम लो बागे समंद की। गूंजा जो गैज़ में असदुल्लाह का पिसर, अम्मू के पास आ गए अकबर बकर, माथे पे हाथ रख के जो कासिम ने की नजर, बोले अजीब शान से आते हैं ये, बोले अजीब शान से आते हैं ये, बोले अजीब शान से आते तेगो सिपर को खोल के लाए हैं साथ, क्यों खुलता नहीं ये राज के बांधे हैं हाथ, खुलता नहीं ये राज के बांधे हैं हाथ क्यों। अरे शह ने कहा है मेरे अंसार तश्न का, तुम जानते हो कौन है चारों ये नेक, वो हुर है वो पिसल वो बरादर है वो हुर वो है पिसल वो बरादर है वो, सब पर खुदा का फजल है सब पर मेरा सलाम, سب پر خدا کا فضل ہے، سب پر میرا
سلام،
تھا جن کا یہ انتظار مسلسل، یہی
تو ہے
اس فوج مختصر کے ہراول، یہی
یہ تو ہے
اس فوج مختصر کے ہراول، یہی
تو ہے
دیکھا جو حرم خلق مجسم کا یہ
طرح
آتے ہیں پیشوائی کو خود سرورے، ارے آسین دوڑ کر شہیدی کے لیے رو رو کے عرض کی کہ خجل ہے اسیر، رو کے عرض کی کہ خجل ہے اسیر، ارے جان شفیع روز جزا بخش دی، وہ باغ تھامنے کی خطا بخش دی، وہ باغ تھامنے کی خطا بخش دیجئے، سبت نبی نے ہاتھ بڑھائے سوئے قدموں سے آنکھیں ملنے لگا وہ فلک، یہ حال تھا ادھر کہ اٹھا پردہ فضا ہوئی حرم سے برآمد بائے، فضا ہوئی حرم سے برآمد بائے، کی از پاس آ کے امام انام پر کی طلب خیمہ عرش احتشام، پر کی طلب خیمہ عرش احتشام سے، پر کی خیمہ احتشام سے، چہرہ فروز ماں خواتین حضرات، اعلان سماعت فرمائیں، کل اسی خانے میں سالانہ درینہ مجلس جناب مسٹر مسز باقر رضوی صاحب کی طرف سے ہوتی ہے۔ مجلس حسین کل بعد نماز ظہر رین، جس سے مولانا سید محمد رضوی صاحب کینیڈا سے آئے، وہی پڑھ لیں، وہ خطاب فرمائیں گے، اور اس کے بعد یہاں کی مجلس ختم ہونے کے بعد جب آپ ظہرانہ کر لیں گے تو انشاءاللہ اس کے بعد فوراً یہاں سے ہم ہر سال کی طرح جناب سکندر بھائی کے گھر پہ مجلس ہے، جس سے ہری جناب حسین والجی صاحب خطاب کریں گے۔ وہ مجلس تقریباً 5:30 بجے شروع ہو جائے گی۔ وہاں کی مجلس ختم کرنے کے بعد ہم پھر واپس یہاں پر آئیں گے، اور یہاں کی جو روزانہ کے مجالس ہیں اسی طرح سے مغربین کی جماعت کے ساتھ مجلس ہو، مجلس کے بعد ماتم بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات۔ اس کے علاوہ محرم الحرام کا سالانہ جلوس جو ہمیشہ دوران عشرہ جو بھی سنڈے آتا ہے اس میں نکلتا ہے، وہ کل اتفاق سے اس اتوار کو ہے۔ وہ جلوس 1 بجے سب اجتماع ہوں گے، اور وہ تقریباً 6 بجے اختتام پذیر ہوگا پاکستان کانسولیٹ پر۔ آپ حضرات سے زیادہ سے زیادہ شرکت کی درخواست ہے، بچوں کے ساتھ، عورتوں کے ساتھ۔ جب پبلک پہ کوئی شیعت کو لے کر آتا ہے تو وہاں پر ہمارا دینی فریضہ ہے کہ ہم وہاں پر جائیں، اپنے گھروں کی مجالس کو وہاں جا کے کریں۔ بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات۔
One more salawat in the name of our 12th Imam, Imam Sahib al-Asri wa Zaman. تعظیم سے لیتا ہے خدا نام محمد تعظیم سے لیتا ہے خدا نام محمد کیا نام ہے اے صلی علی نام محمد تعظیم سے لیتا ہے خدا قرآن میں جنت میں سر عرش رہا وہ قرآن میں جنت میں سر عرش رہا وہ کس شان سے خالق نے لکھا نام محمد تعظیم سے دن رات میں کرتا تھا گناہ رحمت نے ندا دی دن رات میں کرتا تھا گناہ رحمت نے ندا دی غافل تو کہیں بھول گیا نام محمد تعظیم سے لیتا ہے خدا اللہ کرے اس پہ حرام آتش دوزخ اللہ کرے اس پہ حرام آتش دوزخ جس شخص کے ہے دل میں لکھا نام محمد تعظیم سے لیتا ہے خدا کیا ڈر ہے اگر قبر میں رہ جائے اکیلے کیا ڈر ہے اگر قبر میں رہ جائے اکیلے ہے امت عاصی کو عصا نام محمد تعظیم سے لیتا ہے خدا is Surah Fatiha for all of our marhumeens. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله لقد جاءت رسل ربنا بالحق والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين أبي القاسم محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
روحي وجسمي وارواح العالمين لك الفداء يا ابن رسول الله. ثم السلام عليكم يا أهل العزاء الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين خصوصا سيدي ومولاي يا أبا الفضل العباس بن أمير المؤمنين وقاسم بن الحسن ومسلم بن عقيل وحاني بن عروة وحبيب بن مظاهر والحر الشهيد الرياهي. السلام عليكم يا ساداتي وموالي جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوات. One of the things that we as humans do not want to do and want to do. Some of you are professionals, some of you are business people, some of you are retired, but we have had one objective in life, and that is to earn money. Nobody can ever say that I want to live on this earth, but I don't want to make any money. Nobody will say that. Each and every one of us have an expectation that if I do this profession and I plan this early on, either my parents planned it for me or I planned it, that I have to have and I want to earn so much money. We plan that. The more professional you are, the more you do the services, the more you get paid. That's just the way of life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this surah is mentioning a currency of a human being. When he says, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim wal asr, inna al-insana lafi khusr, illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihat وَتَوَاسَوْا بِالْحَقِّ وَتَوَاسَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ. What is amal salihah? That is the currency for us to have in the next world. You understand? It is simple. You do good things on the face of this earth, and Allah has said, I will pour you with the money that you need for akhirah. But not only akhirah, I will turn that currency in your favor on the face of this earth. So before you go there, you'll benefit here. You see, that is amalus salihah. That is doing good deeds. A deed is a currency. Just think it very simply put. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Mulk is saying, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, خلق الموت والحياة إلا ليبلوكم أيكم أحسن عملا. That what is and why this creation is so that you gain as much deed as possible. A person's responsibility and a person's personality in the other world will be based on how much currency have you earned on this world. Even in this world we have, right? If I want to stay in a neighborhood in this city, I have to earn more. We drive around, we look at the beautiful homes and we say, Allah, look at this beautiful home. It is beautiful. The neighborhood is completely different. And we want to move to those neighborhoods through our earnings. Deed works the same way. You want a better place in Jannah for yourself? Then make sure you earn more deeds. Simply put, you come here and you sit. It said that a person who sits in Azai Hussein washes his sins before he even leaves out. You are clean. When you leave this place, you will leave without any sins. Every salawat that you will recite will clean your sins. That is why we recite salawat, because it is a process of cleaning a person's sins. So it is very, very simply put. And in order, imagine the community at the time of the Holy Prophet. You know, it is so hard to comprehend. How was the Holy Prophet going to change a status of a community that believed in idols, that drinking was part and parcel of people's life there? They used to drink like anything. Womenization was prominent at that time. It is unfortunate that today a Muslim nation, where we go to do our Hajj, is now promoting the same things coming back again. But look at it. Everything was an absolute mess. For the Holy Prophet single-handedly to turn this community around was an amazing aspect of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had helped the Holy Prophet to achieve. Beautifully, he achieves that. But one of the most important things that you see the Holy Prophet did was change the behaviors and the manners of people. Akhlaq कहते हैं. पैसे हो, सब कुछ हो, लेकिन अगर अखलाक नहीं है ना, तो पैसे किस काम के? Right. If I go to a doctor, I don't care how professional he is, but if I go to a doctor as a patient, and if I see that doctor and in his best of behavior, I'm sold even before he starts to treat me. That's a doctor. Shouldn't be that I go to a doctor and I feel sick. What sort of individual is he? It is important, even for a doctor, to have the best of behaviors. I go to a dentist. That is the scariest thing sometimes. You go to a dentist, but if the dentist depends on the type of injection he uses. But if the dentist himself has a good personality as an individual, then half your sickness and pain is gone because of his attitude. And to change this attitude, the Prophet of Islam goes near Mecca and he holds the cloth of Mecca and he conveys a message to the people. He says, Ya ayyuhan nas, afshu salam, wat'imu ta'am, wasallu bil-layl, wal-nasu niyam, tadkhulun al-jannah, he says. Beautifully, he says. Simple thing, my brothers and sisters. What does he say? He said, afshu salam. He said, open up. Afshus means open up. Open up with salam. We do salam to each other, but he was asking that to be a part of a person's manners. He said, Afshu salam. Salam itself is the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, Afshu salam, open up. And then what does he say? And look at it. In the Salat of Jummah today, I talked about wajibats and mustahabats, things that we do above and beyond the wajibats. And the third thing I talked about was a third aspect, which is our cultural thing. These three things, wajib, and then you have sunnah, and then you have your culture. And for some, that culture is more important than the other two. When Islam says that is the last thing you should worry about. But here is what it is. The Holy Prophet conveys and says, open up for Islam. He says, you know how? He said, the person who is riding conveys salam to the one who is walking. Not the other way around. We've turned that whole thing around. अरे यार मैं इसको क्यों सलाम करूं? ये तो पांव से चल रहा है. इसकी, what is his value in the community, or what is his value? But the Holy Prophet said that the person who is sitting on a ride, at that time the camels and all, that is the person who conveys the salam to the person who is walking. You understand? Then he said that the person who sits on a pulpit conveys the salam to those who are sitting. Not that the one who are sitting conveys salam to the person on the pulpit. You understand? Very simply put. And then the third thing he says, it is an elder or an older person who conveys a salam to a younger person, and not the other way around. You understand? Sometimes we beat up our child. Have you seen that? Parents will smack him a little bit and say, "Tune salam nahi kiya isko." But we don't understand. The Holy Prophet is saying, because these things, he said, I'm establishing so that you become a very humble individual. You remove that ego that you have inside you. You remove those things to be able to do that. That is why salam. And this salam is so important. It is said that Imam Rida alayhi salam have said, that if you recite 136 times, Ya Salamu As-Salam, Ya Salamu As-Salam, that is it. 136 times. Many of the scholars say that if that is recited on an individual who is so critically sick, you will get shifa from that. Imagine, you will get shifa from that because it's the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This tasbih that we do, how important is this tasbih? You know, the least we can do is take out a tasbih, the least. Because it is so powerful, this tasbih. It is said from many Maharajas are in the belief that when you don't take out tasbih, your namaz is not complete. What is this tasbih? This tasbih is of Bibi Fatimatu Zahra Salamullah alayhi. But what are we saying in that tasbih? It is all Allah's name. It is not her name. It is not the Prophet's name. It is Allah's name that I'm taking 34, 33, 33, 100 times. So never miss your tasbih in Maghrib, Isha, whatever prayers you are doing. You complete the prayers, you should do tasbih. Even before you do any sunnat amals, namaz or whatever, before you do that, do this, because this is 1,000 times better than any salat that you will do between Maghrib and Isha. Don't ignore that. Don't ignore this tasbih, because we are doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'm saying 100 times in a few minutes only. And I'm taking the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Don't you think there is a reward for that? It is an absolutely amazing. We are looking for deeds and they're always present there. I go to sleep. You must recite tasbih before you go to sleep. Because who knows whether you will get up or not? Nobody knows. But if I die with the tasbih of Bibi Fatima Zahra with me before my death comes upon me and I die, imagine where I will be. Because I died while doing this tasbih. It's important. The Holy Prophet was trying to change the society in such a way that he wanted to make sure that everything we do, there is reward for that. It is the nature of a human being that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given it. What is it in for me is what we ask. I do this, so what is it in for me? But this is what the Holy Prophet wanted to do, is to teach us to gain as much deeds as possible so that we can flourish in the next world. If you are truly with Aba Abdullah al-Hussein, if you have the love of Aba Abdullah al-Hussein in your heart, there is nothing that will ever happen to you in your qabr. You'll always lie there and you'll always enjoy dozakh, not dozakh, barzakh. Barzakh is what you will enjoy when you are in your qabr, because that is your next world. And as I said, I spend 60 years, 70 years, 80 years, 90, 100 on this earth. Very short form of life. But when I go to the next world, that world could be thousands of years. When I go through cemeteries here, I went to Brother Shabir al-Arak's house and I looked at that cemetery and I said, Allahu Akbar. Imagine these people who are lying there for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. But if I don't have my currency, what will I do? If I go to the next world and I don't have the right currency, do you know what is going to be the currency when the 12th Imam comes, inshallah, when he comes? You think it will be dollars? No. It will be pounds? No. What will be the currency? It is said that when the 12th Imam will come, the currency will be salawat. I want to get this, I will need 2 salawats. If I need to get this, I need 3 salawats. If I need to get that, I will need 4 salawats. This is what will be the currency at the time of the 12th Imam. Transactions will still go on, but it will go on in the name of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad. And then the Holy Prophet said something very interesting. He said, talk less, sleep less, right? Talk less, sleep less, eat less. Okay. We are now in a postmodern era. There was never a time 50 years ago when we were in Africa or wherever, we never used to tell somebody, man, you have lost weight. Do you ever remember? My father would never say to his friend, you have lost weight. No. What's going wrong with you? You haven't gained any weight. That is what they will ask you. Why haven't you gained any weight? That was that time. But the time changed. And this, the Holy Prophet talked about 1400 years ago. That eat less. Don't eat so much that you cannot get up from the chair of your dining table. Don't get up. You can't even get up from it. Look at what happens to us in the holy month of Ramadan. When we have Christians and Jews, they come during the holy month of Ramadan for 3-4 days. And ironically, when they come, they fast on that day. They just want to see what happens to a human being. So they all come fasting. But they ask you what's going to happen when I come to the mosque. So we tell them, well, you know, we have salat and all that, and it's finished. Then people go crazy. So what happens? It's food. I am so worried about the time of opening my fast than the time of salah. I'm so worried. Everybody will be looking at their watch. ये time हो गया है, क्यों नहीं हुआ है अभी तक ये? क्यों अज़ान नहीं आई है? You know, this is what happens. And then we eat so much as if even that, and even Gujarati Madaku Cation, that even in the middle of the night, then when we get up again, we will eat even more. And we keep on. Ramadan is there so that we lose our weights, but we are there to gain our weights. All right. And we will eat more than we will ever eat in a day when we are not fasting. But this is what happens. And then what happens? You go out and you get a treadmill. How many of us have treadmills that we've ever used? I have a treadmill. But I'll be very frank, I haven't been on that treadmill for 5 to 7 years now. And the doctors will ask me, do you have a treadmill? I say, yeah, the treadmill, everything is there. I will do it at the clinic, but I won't do it at home. The treadmill is right there. We are trying to lose weight. This is what the Holy Prophet said. Keep yourself in such a way, in a healthy environment. Keep yourself, give all the things you need to be healthy. If you have to walk, walk. But don't talk. Walk. Walk, and walking will help you. These were all the things that the Holy Prophet said 1400 years ago. And we are still looking for those things that will reduce my weight. I talked about honey yesterday. How beautiful this honey is. Look at the shifa that Allah has put in this honey. He said there are 70 different types of diseases that go away from a person who takes a spoonful of honey in the early morning hours. Before anything goes into my stomach, I take honey. The doctors, about 15, 20 years ago, I read an article in England. They were doing research and they were saying that there are so many benefits of this honey. There are so many benefits of milk. Everything is coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through an animal to help me and you to survive in this world. And that's why he said, eat less. And then he said, sleep less. Then he said, talk less. Now, talk less doesn't mean that you don't talk. This means that when you talk, talk some sense. You understand? If you're making sense, that's great. But if you're talking for the sake of just talking, then that doesn't take us anywhere. And then there was a man called Ibn Sikit. This person was at the time of the Abbasid regime. And he used to go to teach the two children. Who was the leader of Abbasid regime? Maybe somebody can tell me the name. Harun Rashid was there. Who was the other one? Ji? Ah. Who was another one? Well, yeah. He had his two sons. Ibn Sikit used to go and teach his two sons. And when one day he comes there and he says to Ibn Sikit, he said, tell me who is better, Hassan and Hussein or my two sons? What a question to ask. Now, this is a man, Ibn Sikit. Sikit means somebody who is silent. He never says anything. Unless if you pinch him, he will say. But otherwise, he says absolutely nothing. He goes there to teach the children. But suddenly, he is asked this question, that is my child better, my children, or Hassan and Hussein? And Ibn Sikit said that forget Hassan and Hussein. Your children are Kambar, the servant of Ali ibn Abi Talib, is better than your children. What do you think happened to him? They took off his head. This Ibn Sikit wrote a poetry just before he died. He wrote a poetry. In the poetry, he says, it is easy to cure someone who slips with his feet than the one who slips his tongue. Right? If I fall down, it's easy to cure, but what comes out of this mouth is very difficult to cure. And for some, it even breaks the marriage because of what comes out of your mouth. This tongue. Everything gets sick, right? In our body, everything gets sick. But the tongue doesn't get sick. कभी आपने सुना है कि मेरी टंग बीमार है, आंख बीमार है, हाँ, नाक बीमार है, कुछ हर चीज बीमार है, लेकिन the tongue never gets sick, because that tongue, through that tongue, a doctor finds out what is your problem. He'll say, take out your tongue. Let me see what's in there in you. See how, and this tongue is a powerful thing. So this is what the Holy Prophet is saying, that try to talk less. And Imam Ali al-Islam said it's better not to talk even sometimes. There are times when you should not even talk, because if you'll talk, then that line, it's like a human being, as long as he's silent, nobody knows him. But nobody knows how big that human being is. It's like going into a forest and suddenly finding a tiger there. Because the moment that men or women opens up their mouth, they are a totally different people to you than you ever were. Abu Hanifa was sitting and teaching his students. One alim got in with Abba, Kaba and everything, so he came there. And Abu Hanifa started to shake because he thought, oh, look at this personality of this man, such a high personal person. So he turns over to him and he says, do you want to tell anything to my students? He said, yes, I want to ask them a question. So he asked him, he said, what time does the Fajr namaz come qaza? And so all the children who were sitting there said, well, as soon as the sun rises, it's qaza. He said, what if the sun doesn't rise? If it's cloudy, what are you going to do? And Abu Hanifa said, La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. I didn't know this person when he walked in, but look at the type of question he's asking that little kids as to what if the sun doesn't rise? Sun will always rise. Whether you see it or not, it will happen. You know when it will happen. So it is better to remain silent. There are times when one should be quiet. When there is a quarrel between the spouses, somebody has to calm down, right? If both of them will talk, then who will listen? It is important that one person gives up and says, you know what? I'm quiet. You can say whatever you want to say. And then go on with your life. This is the kind of teachings the Holy Prophet was trying to teach. Tonight, we are here because of Hazrat Hur. And look at this personality. Hazrat Hur is in every one of us. Every one of us. He was a man that had fame. People used to respect him for what he was. Lots of respect for him. Secondly, he was a person that was so brave that people used to tell him how good he is at fighting. That was Hur. This is how he was. And thirdly, he was given a golden plate by Yazid and said, here, Hur, if you come into my army, and if you are in my army, Umar ibn Sa'ad had a son called Hafz. Hur had a son called Bukhair. Hafz and Bukhair, these little children, grew up together. And they were very, very good friends. And they grew up together. And therefore, Umar ibn Sa'ad had a connection with Hur. So Hur was asked a question that he has a golden plate. He had all the wealth that he could have. And they told him that, you know, you will get this reward and you will get this reward and this reward. This was Hur. Umar ibn Sa'ad, on the other hand, his father was the founder of the town of Kufa. The Kufa that we know today in Iraq. The founding father of that was Umar ibn Sa'ad's father, Sa'ad ibn Waqqas. He was the founder. But Umar ibn Sa'ad, when he was asked, and don't ever think that Imam Hussein just went there and started to fight. No, look at history. How did Imam Hussein try to convince Umar ibn Sa'ad by taking him behind the tent so that nobody can see him? He kept on telling him, Umar, what you are about to do will destroy your life in this world and in the hereafter. Don't do it. I promise you, I will promise you that I will give you a garden that was owned by Mawla Kainat, Hazrat Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. He said, I will give you that garden. Muawiyah came to Imam Ali and said, I want to buy that land. And Imam Ali said, no, I will not give it to you. Even if you pay me whatever you want to pay me. But when it came to Umar ibn Sa'ad, Imam is offering him and saying, listen, Umar, I will give you this very garden on this earth. He said, no, I don't want it. I'm going to kill you. What happened? In 50 years from the time of the Holy Prophet's death till the time Imam Hussein died, It was 50 years. In these 50 years, the entire people that on one hand were hypocrites. They were showing the love to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein by writing letters. 18,000 letters were written to Imam Hussein alayhi salam that come here, come to Kufa. But the same people then stood against Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. The same people. What did Imam Hussein do with those letters? You know what he did? Look at his rahmah. He took those letters and buried them so that nobody could ever find those letters and go after those individuals. This was Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. And this was Hur on one side. And what happens? Imam Hussein alayhi salam leaves Mecca and he's on his way. And at a far distance, when they came closer to Kufa, at a far distance, they saw an army. And Imam Hussein turns to Abbas and says, Abbas, it looks like this is an army that doesn't have any water for themselves. Why don't you provide some water? Provide them, not only to them, but even to their horses and camels. Provide water. And Abu al-Fazl al-Abbas starts to provide water to all the army of Hur. While he's doing that, Imam Hussein watches a man who is trying to put his camel down on the floor. But the camel wouldn't go, and he was so tired. Imam Hussein alayhi salam comes there, helps him, and brings his camel down, takes water, and gives it to him, and feeds him. You know what this person did? On the day of Ashura, he stands on top of the camel and he says to Hormala, shoot the arrow now. Look at it. What happened to these people suddenly? The biggest problem, Imam Hussein said, is that your stomach is full of that which is haram. That is why you cannot think. That is why we are told that stay away from those things that are haram, because it does have an impact on you as an individual. That when I eat something that is haram, that is not slaughtered Islamically, I will suffer for that. Even the littlest thing will make a big difference in my body, in my stomach. Imam Hussein says, because these people did not care about that aspect of it. He said, your stomach is full of that which is haram. That's why you will never be able to recognize me, who I am. Why? Because in Surah Ahzab, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, إِنَّمَا يُرِيدُ اللَّهُ لِيُذْهِبَ عَنْكُمُ الرِّجْسَ أَهْلُ الْبَيْتِ وَيُطَهِّرَكُمْ تَطْهِيرًا. What does it mean? It means that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that which will be najis will be kept away from Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. They would keep it away. Allah has promised Ahlul Bayt that I will not bring anything that is of najasat close to you. So therefore these people had this. And when Hazrat Hur had no idea what these people were doing. He was never told about the intention. But I say he is a hope for each and every one of us. Because it was he who stopped Imam Hussein from going to Kufa and directed him towards Karbala. If I sit there and I think of it, I say, why? Look at what Hur did. He could have saved all of these people, but instead he directed the... But this was Hur, because he had no idea. And so before they leave for Karbala, Imam Hussein then holds on to his camel. Hur comes and holds on to the camel of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein and he says, Akha, where are you going? He said, I'm going towards Kufa. And Hur said, no, my instructions are to take you to Karbala. And Imam Hussein, imagine, he was upset with Hur at the time. for what he had done. This is the same Abu Abdullah al-Hussein that when the time of namaz came at that time, he says to Hur, why don't you lead the prayers? And Hur says, I cannot when the son of Fatima Zahra is in front of me. He has to lead. You lead the prayers. Therefore, he was aware as to who he was with and everything. And his instructions were to bring him to Karbala. It is said that when Hur was in Karbala, he was with his son. And on the 9th of Muharram, at that moment, he saw that Shimr had asked the people to go and pour cold water onto the hoofs of the horses. He said, pour water so that their hoofs can calm down. And then he hears the voices of children coming from the tent of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, that we are thirsty. We're thirsty. 7th Muharram, and the water was shut off. Can you imagine what these children were going through? In the barren desert of Karbala, trying to seek water. And here, Hur hears that. And he says to Shimr, are we really going to go and kill them? Is that what the intention is? And he was told, yes, we are. We are going to remove their heads and we are going to remove their hands. He said, he sits down and he thinks, where should I now go? Should I do this or should I not do this? And then those are the things we go in our heart. Should I come to the mosque or should I stay home? Should I do my salat or should I just sit? This was Hur. He was also thinking the same thing. And he says, I am now between hell and heaven. Where should I go? But Hur made the right decision. Hur, along with his servant and along with his son, they decided to leave. It is said that nearly 20 people from the army of Yazid had moved away and entered with Abu Abdullah al-Hussein's side. They were not ready to kill him either. But they went because Hur went. And when Hur comes, he ties his hand behind his neck. And he comes to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. As he's coming, Abbas is on the outside of the tent, and Imam Hussein said, Abbas, just go and fetch Hur, for he is coming towards our tent. Hur started to come towards the tent with his child. When Hur arrived, the first thing he said to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, Aka, forgive me for what I have done. I just didn't know what they were up to. But this is Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, and he says, oh, I have forgiven you. My mother has forgiven you. And he turns and he says, where is Zainab? I want to go and seek forgiveness from her. He comes near the tent of Janab Zainab, and he said, forgive me for what I have done. And then he leaves and he goes and he's among the first one to fight there. And the time comes when somebody hits him with the spear and kills Hur. अज़ीज़ान गिरामी, खुदा आपको करबला की ज़ियारत नसीब करे। आप देखेंगे कि हज़रत हूर की कब्र, जहां अब्दुल्लाह अल-हुसैन की कब्र है, वहां पे नहीं, कुछ मील दूर उसको दफन कर दिया गया है। ये क्यों? ये इसलिए कि रोज़ आशूर जब उमर इब्न साद ने हुक्म दिया था कि लाशों को पामाल की जाए, तो जब उमर इब्न साद को पूछा गया کہ کس کی لاش پہلے پامال کی جائے، تو عمر ابن سعد نے کہا کہ حور کی۔ ارے حور کے آدمی وہاں پر آئے، کہا یہ نہیں ہو سکتا، ہم حور کو یہاں سے لے جائیں گے۔ پھر علی اکبر کا نام آیا اور اس کو کہا، ام لیلہ کے رشتہ دار تھے، ام لیلہ رشتہ دار تھی یزید کی، اس لیے ان کو بھی چھوڑ دیا گیا، سب کو لے گئے، لیکن ایک لاش وہاں پر پڑی رہی۔ ارے معلوم ہے یہ لاش کس کی تھی؟ ابا عبداللہ الحسین کی لاش تھی۔ ارے کوئی اٹھانے والا نہیں تھا، 10 لوگوں کو اکٹھا کیا اور گھوڑے دوڑائے گئے امام کی لاش پر۔ جناب زینب خیمے میں بیٹھی تھی، امام علی زین العابدین کو پوچھتی ہے کہ مجھے ہڈی کی آواز آ رہی ہے، تو امام نے کہا یہ لوگ گھوڑے دوڑاتے ہیں اپنے میرے بابا کی لاش پر۔ الا لعنت اللہ علی القوم الظالمین وسيعلم الذين ظلموا وينقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. اللهم بحق محمد وانت المحمود، بحق علي وانت الأعلى، بحق فاطمة وانت فاطر السماوات والأرض، بحق الحسين وانت قديم الإحسان. إلهي توبة قبل الموت، وراحة عند الموت، ومغفرة بعد الموت، والنجاة من النار، ودخولا في الجنة، وعافية من كل بلاء الدنيا وعذاب الآخرة. ماتم حسین.
یا حسین 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 ہے اکبر سینے اسے لگاؤ، حر آ رہا 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 ہے اکبر سینے اسے لگاؤ، مہمان کو ہمارے خیمے میں لے کے آؤ، حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے اسے لگاؤ، حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے سے لگاؤ، خود یاد ہوگا اس کو پانی تھا اس نے روکا، خوددار وہ بہت ہے شرمندہ ہم سے ہوگا، پیاسے ہیں سارے بچے
اس کو نہ یہ بتاؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے اسے لگاؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے سے لگاؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے سے لگاؤ دیکھو وہ چل رہا ہے میدان میں لڑکھڑا کر گرنے سے پہلے اکبر اس کو سنبھالو جا کر اے میرے شاہزادے جلدی قدم بڑھاؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے سے لگاؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے سے لگاؤ عباس اپنے دل سے ہر بات صاف کر دو ماں فاطمہ کے صدقے حر کو معاف کر دو جا کر علم کے اس کو سائے میں لے کے آؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے اسے لگاؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے سے لگاؤ تم سے بھی پہلے مرنے جائے گا اس کا بیٹا جی بھر کے دیکھ لے وہ اپنے پسر کا چہرہ کم وقت رہ گیا ہے جا کر اسے بتاؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے اسے لگاؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے سے لگاؤ جس دم سنی علی کی بیٹی نے یہ صدائیں آنسو بہا کے اس کو دینے لگی دعائیں بچوں سے پھر یہ بولے حر کو گلے لگاؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے سے لگاؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے سے لگاؤ سجاد کیا بیان ہو کہتی تھی بنت زہرا بھائی کی جان بچانے ایک اور حبیب آیا میرا سلام فیضا پہنچا کے اس کو آؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے سے لگاؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے سے لگاؤ مہمان کو ہمارے خیمے میں لے کے آؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے سے لگاؤ حر آ رہا ہے اکبر سینے سے لگاؤ یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین یا حسین
یا حسین
یا حسین
یا حسین
یا حسین
یا حسین
کرب و بلا میں عرش کے تارے بکھر گئے کرب و بلا میں عرش کے تارے بکھر گئے کرب و بلا میں عرش کے تارے بکھر گئے ارے مقتل میں بھوک پیاس کے مارے بکھر گئے کرب و بلا میں عرش کے تارے کرب و بلا میں عرش کے تارے ارے قرآن کو آج تک ہے ان اوراق کی تلاش قرآن کو آج تک ہے ان اوراق کی تلاش قرآن کو آج تک ہے ان اوراق کی تلاش جو نہر القمہ کے کنارے بکھر گئے کرب و عرش کے تارے بکھر گئے کرب و بلا میں عرش کے تارے بکھر گئے ارے دریا پہ بھائی دشت میں فرزند رن میں دوست دریا پہ بھائی دشت میں فرزند رن میں دوست دریا پہ بھائی دشت میں فرزند رن میں دوست آندھی چلی بلا کی ستارے بکھر گئے وہ بلا میں عرش کے تارے بکھر گئے کرب و بلا میں عرش کے تارے بکھر گئے ارے زہرا اٹھانے آئی ہیں مجلس میں اے عروج زہرا اٹھانے آئی ہیں مجلس میں اے عروج زہرا اٹھانے آئی ہیں مجلس میں اے عروج گوہر جو آنسوؤں کے ہمارے بکھر گئے کرب و بلا میں عشق کے تارے بکھر گئے کرب و بلا میں عرش کے تارے بکھر گئے ارے قرآن کو آج تک ہے ان اوراق کی تلاش قرآن کو آج تک ہے ان اوراق کی تلاش قرآن کو آج تک ہے ان اوراق کی تلاش جو نہر القمہ کے کنارے بکھر گئے کرب و بلا میں عرش کے تارے بکھر گئے کرب و بلا میں عرش کے تارے بکھر گئے یا حسین 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 Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. कैसी ये शाम आई औलाद सैयदा पर, कैसी ये शाम आई औलाद सैयदा पर, कैसी ये शाम आई औलाद सैयदा पर, कैसी ये शाम आई औलाद। सजाद रो रहे हैं ज़ैनब से मुँह छुपा कर, कैसी ये शाम आई औलाद सैयदा पर, कैसी सजाद रो रहे हैं ज़ैनब से मुँह छुपा कर, कैसी ये शाम आई औलाद सैयदा पर, कैसी एक सिमत बेकफन है भाई का उसका लाशा, अब्बास की बहन का बाकी रहा न पर्दा, अब सोचती है ज़ैनब मांगे कफन या चादर, कैसी आई औलाद सैयदा पर, कैसी ये शाम आई जो घर में दो कदम भी पैदल नहीं चली है, एक दिन में वो ही ज़ैनब अब्बास बन गई है, पहरे पे आ गई है तन्हा लम उठा कर, सी शाम आई सैयदा पर, कैसी पर सी शाम आई। बाजू कहाँ परे है लाशा कहाँ परा है, ज़ैनब की बेबसी पर गाजी तरफ रहा है, रोती है बेकसी भी फर्शे अज़ाब चाकर, ऐसी शाम आई यदा पर, कैसी शाम आई एक सिमत बेकफन है भाई का उसका लाशा, अब्बास की बहन का बाकी रहा न पर्दा, अब सोचती है ज़ैनब मांगे कफन या चादर, कैसी आई सजाद रो रहे हैं ज़ैनब से मुँह छुपा कर, कैसी शाम आई
Assalamu alayka ya Rasulullah, ya ahsan Allahu lakal azaa, في ولدك الحسين. السلام عليك يا أمير المؤمنين، أحسن الله لك الأذى في ولدك الحسين. السلام عليك يا فاطمة الزهراء سيدة نساء العالمين، أحسن الله لك الأذى في ولدك الحسين. السلام عليك يا أبا محمد الحسن، أحسن الله لك الأذى في أخيك الحسين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك، عليكم جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعل الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. All together. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين، خصوصا سيدي ومولاي أبو الفضل العباس وأختك زينب كلثوم وبنتك سكينة وقاسم بن الحسن ومسلم بن أكيل وهاني بن أروى وحبيب بن مظاهر والحر الشهيد الرياعي. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا علي بن الحسين زين العابدين، أحسن الله لك الأذى في أبيك الحسين. السلام عليك يا محمد الباكر، السلام عليك يا جعفر الصادق، السلام عليك يا موسى الكاظم، السلام عليك يا علي بن موسى الرزا، السلام عليك يا محمد التقي الجواد، السلام عليك يا علي النكي، السلام عليك يا حسن العسكري، السلام عليك يا صاحب الزمان، أحسن الله لك الأذى في جدك الحسين. السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن، السلام عليك يا كعبة الإيمان، السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان، أجل الله فرجك وسخر الله مخرجك ورزقني الله في الدنيا زيارتك وفي الآخرة شفاعتك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم كل حجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائك في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة، وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرزك توعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين مع الصلوات. اللهم